Happy Sunday, Monday. It's that time again.
All righty. That's Sunday. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Listen, I can't help but notice the people out in freaking D Live are on the Mary Jane lighted the leaf thing. It's pretty cool. I ain't gonna lie. Then they've started the bear smoke. What's going on with you guys? Is it a fun day for sure for y'all Sunday?
Smoky Smoke Day, apparently.
No, say hi to everybody because I pulled up something really quick because I was going to say something when I saw that Mary Jane thing. So
Well,
everybody get your hellos out. I'm going to show that first. It made me think about
good
it.
afternoon to everybody in chat. Michael Crook, C. Lacey Best, Nani Light Switch, Susan Garbett, Joe Benson, Maria Ingram, Ray Edmonds, our Granny Growbags. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to have you aboard. Timothy Powell and Paddock, Charmaine Puck, Short Bus Mooner, Elaine, Nick Boy from Black Stuff, Zenthogen, all our friends from across the pond. Get on a stick and figure out where in a Sam blankety blank is DD. I already DM'd him. He didn't respond. Good to have you aboard over on the Twitch side, YouTube side, Periscope, whatever. You're no longer with us. D-Live, we are over on the Foxhole app and over on Trovo.
I don't know, man. It still says we're online at Periscope. And I heard Dilly the other day say that his was up
Any way to
on the
verify?
web browser thing. So I don't
I
know.
have no
It says
idea.
we're online. I wouldn't think it would. I think it would give us an error if there was an issue. I don't know what's going on. They were supposed to shut down 2 weeks ago.
It just doesn't feed back any numbers as to who's watching over on the platform, if it is indeed still live. It shows it's online, but I don't see any numbers from it, so it's probably properly buried.
Well, I'm going to say hello, Sonny, because I'm
Hello, everyone. Glad you're here. Thanks for supporting 5x5.
Thank you. I'm going to okay, so I'm going to get just out of the way. So if anybody, I'm just going to tell you because thanks for the Mary Jane little lit up emoji. That's pretty cool, and it made me think of this video I saw back in the day. For this is kind of what I use for anybody that pushes back against like THC or medical marijuana. I show them this video and I say, if you are opposed to it, now listen, you can have your debates about recreational use. Personally, I don't. If we're talking about Mary Jane, I'm gonna get over it. It's a herb basically. You don't do anything to it. Heroin, there's a topic there. PCP stuff like that, stuff that's kind of like heck, let's just try and challenge fentanyl. So let's start there. But anyway, here's this video that I show people when they say something about Mary Jane and its effects. This dude has Parkinson's. Y'all probably seen this, but it is such an amazing transformation for this guy. And it's been put up by him, so I think I'm okay to play it. I've played it before and not been hit. You scroob. But here it is.
Hi, Larry. How are you?
Come in.
Let's see. How you feeling?
It's been a bit of a rough week.
Really? And the best way to take it is put it under your tongue and rub it in your cheek. Don't do too much. You're going to be asleep all afternoon. You know what you should do? No. Don't try to communicate. Just relax.
137.
We know from animal experiments that the endogenous cannabinoid system is very important in regulating motor activity, that very type of activity that is impaired in Parkinson's disease. From animal experiments, we also know that boosting certain branches of the endocannabinoid system is helpful in relieving symptoms of Parkinson's. Finally, from anecdotal information, we know that certain patients who smoke marijuana experience relief of their symptoms.
I think you're
4 minutes.
So quickly.
Isn't that amazing?
He used just a single drop, and his hands afterwards were rock steady, and the dyskinesia left.
The voice is coming back.
Wow, that's
It
amazing.
works most of the time.
In fact, it's... Did you guys eat lunch?
Got the munchies.
Are you hungry
She eat
now?
lunch.
But I am. Actually, a person like me could really use marijuana. It makes me pretty angry that I can't get it in my home state.
The number one frustration that I have is knowing that there is this untapped potential that comes from what marijuana is teaching us to generate new medicines and being stuck because of financial issues.
Well, there you go. That's enough. Well, you get the point. But that's one I like to use. If that's not a good case study and why, to me, someone like Larry should have access to that medication. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, look at him. He could fill himself with big pharma. That could hurt his liver and all kinds of side effects and all that other stuff. But he put one drop under his tongue, and that's what happened in 4 minutes. So that's it. Thanks out there in D-Live. You made me think of that with that emoji sticker thing. Yeah,
Oh, got
that's
any
pretty cool.
got any of them pizza bites?
No doubt. It was funny because he's like, "Have y'all ate?"
I'm starving.
So yeah, but it's just sweet. That guy is such a nice man. He's been married forever. There's an elderly couple, and and he tried everything. And you saw how he answered that door and what he looked like when he sat down on that couch. That's not trick video. That was one shot straight through. They just fast forwarded it to show you. Thanks, Mog, for the sub. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. If that's not a case for it, somebody can debate with me about it. But to me, everybody should be it should be medical. This should be legalized medically everywhere. And then, people can have their debates on age limits, because there is arguments and debates for children too young using it and how it can affect the brain development, stuff like that. There are case studies for it. But then just like alcohol. You have to be 21 to buy alcohol. Okay. Can we? I don't know. Anyway, but that's it. That's it for me.
All right. Well, another one bites the dust. Oh, David Hogg in the news, in case you hadn't seen this. This was back on February 5th, so it is this little over 2 months, about 60, 70 days ago, I guess it's been. Of course, David Hogg, our favorite guy we love to hate in regards to the Second Amendment. Today, we started a pillow company. Tomorrow, we change the world. But effective immediately, I have resigned and released all shares, any ownership, and any control of Good Pillow LLC. I want to thank Will for his partnership and wish him absolutely nothing but success with the future of Good Pillow. Whoops. Poor David Hogg can't catch a break. And yeah, there you have it. Also, I guess real quick while I got it, hey, CJ Truth posted this. Substitute ribbon for mask now, and this is how it literally is.
Hey, where's your ribbon? Oh, I don't wear it.
You don't wear the ribbon? Aren't you against AIDS?
Yeah, I'm against AIDS. I'm walking, all right. I just don't wear the ribbon.
Who do you think you are?
Put the ribbon on.
Hey, Cedric, Bob, this guy won't wear a ribbon. Who? Who doesn't want to wear the ribbon?
What's it going to be? Are you going to wear the ribbon? No.
Now I remember it, Spectre. Oh my gosh.
We are all wearing the ribbon, so why aren't you going to wear the ribbon? This is America. I don't have to wear anything I don't want to wear. What are we going to do with him? I guess we're just going to have to teach him to wear the ribbon.
And there you have it. Welcome to America today, folks. Wearing the mask or not to wear the mask. And of course, yeah, Seinfeld taught us a lesson from way back, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad they pulled that. I forgot about that.
Well, I hopefully have something more encouraging before I get into my hand sanitizer debacle. But I had to steal this from Officer Tatum. Anybody out there that knows who Brandon Tatum is, I'm sure you've seen him. But I will fast forward a little bit through this video, but it is, I'm trying to find these more and more, and Sonny's really good about finding things like on Twitter that's kind of like this, these shorter videos. I couldn't find the video. You might have seen this, but he found it, and so I'm going to have to borrow from him. But he highlights a video, and if you're not following him, it's the Officer Tatum. Oh, look, I need to join. Look at this. That's horrible. Okay. So, but it's a Zoom meeting where these people go to this parent teacher conference with the student council, the board, the student board. What is that called? The student, you know what I mean. And they were trying to introduce that critical race theory into the school. And all these parents stood up and was like, no, this is basically stupid. I'll let him say a little bit and then I'll play a little bit of the clip. And I don't think Mr. Tatum's going to hit us. I don't think he's like that. But I'll show you a little bit of kind of remember that pastor that stood up in Canada, kind of like that.
You're just a kid, and these teachers are going to talk over you, and your opinion doesn't matter. Your mom and them show up to a school board meeting like I'm about to show you right now, and your mom and them show up like this. This is how you get stuff done. You show up at the school in numbers, and you get these people on the school board meeting and vote them out. You go and cause a ruckus. When I say ruckus, I mean legally go and let your voice be heard. In here just conjuring up stuff if you are not present. And get these teachers from stop teaching all this foolery. Now I want you to listen to this. This is about 6 minutes. We're gonna watch it together from the beginning. 6 minutes. I'm gonna skip this part because it's you're not gonna be able to see him. Board, and he's standing up to these other leftists on the school board. It is epic. Watch it, learn, and go to your children's school, and I want you to participate in the school board meeting just like this. Roll the film.
Transformational equity work document, as well as Mr. Kendi's theory, radical theory, unproven, without a lot.
You're not going to see the people talking on screen. This is just a Zoom call, so just mind you. Nobody's talking. You're not going to see them, but you know.
I'm deeply concerned for my kids who are in this district.
I have had over a dozen teachers reach out to me, frustrated and upset over what is being thrown their way with this transformational equity work. Thanking me for speaking up for them because they can't do it themselves for fear of retaliation and possible discrimination.
Further on, the document references reducing disciplinary action by race, reviewing library books, and hiring based on race, ethnicity, gender identity, faith, sexual orientation, socioeconomic class, and age. You know what? We have fought and battled for equal rights in this country. This doesn't sound like equal rights.
It's not equal rights. You're right, lady. It's not equal rights. This is not right. Keep talking.
Sounds like we're going to go higher based on meeting a quota. And you know what? In the 80s, we played that game.
How do you increase the diversity of applicants?
And this is the sole member on the board that's standing out, and he's in the corner over here behind me. You can barely see him. He got a mask on. It's not like you see him talking, but he's over here describing as a only board
of hiring
this BS.
It's by race. That is illegal. The diversity of hiring should be based on applicants' ability to excel at their job, regardless of their skin color. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they good for the job? Are they bad for the job? And to sit here and make a goal about increasing it by race is illegal, and if that goal is absurd, and if HR does not understand it, they should be replaced immediately.
These teachers are already stressed out, overwhelmed, underappreciated, and now the district, with implementation of this TEW, will pit parents against teacher and students against students.
And let me just tell you, my kids are a minority group. I am Hispanic. Never once have they come home and said that they felt victimized or discriminated against because of their race or ethnicity. Do you want to know why? Because my children are taught at home the value of people, that you treat people the way that their character and integrity defines them in your view.
How is that not the brand standard here? And I'm gonna play a little bit more. How people just don't understand to discriminatory if black pursue
because that's exactly what goes. That is not.
Okay, is
And then it'll get to the part to the woman. She's right here. The one by the yellow crayon is the one that had introduced this doctrine to this school board. She talks.
That's a 9 to me.
And you get that it's her opinion. She bases it on nothing but her opinion.
That is not a place for the district or the board to impose a leftist, and yes, I'm going to make it political because that's exactly what this document is, a leftist rhetoric that has no place in our schools. So I know that we can make public requests for information. I want to know how many complaints the district has received from parents of.
Remember that part. She said she wants to request information of how many parents have complained. She wants to see the facts behind it. And they will never deliver them. Because it's like with the cancel culture, 5 people can say something, all of a sudden it's a problem. 5 people out of 5,000.
Minority children about this topic that makes it has received from parents of minority children about this topic that makes it so heavy in the forefront above their academic skills like math, reading, all of those things.
You go, mama. You go, mama.
I drafted the equity statement.
Now, this is the lady this is a school board member who came up with the thing. Dummy right here. My hand is messed up. That, not her, but the one on the other side of her. That one. The one over there. Anyway, this is her talking about why she did what she did.
And I chose to use the definition of anti-racism by Kendi. I don't pretend to know everything or have all the solutions, but I can look to others and not reinvent the wheel. I chose to propose this definition of anti-racist because it struck a chord with me personally. And spoke to taking action instead of just sitting by and remaining complicit with the gap in discipline and achievement in our district.
Well, you don't need to convince me because everybody in
the guy who makes the most sense on the school board, who's sitting behind me right here, listen to him talk.
this room knows exactly, and you're just revealing that it's all about your personal feelings, which I don't think anybody out here tax-paying parents are at all interested in. And they're kind of appalled that our school is going in that direction instead of teaching their kids math, reading, true history, character, how to be good citizens, how to be productive to society so they can have happy lives instead of going around whining, complaining.
Yeah.
The governing board is responsible to the people of the district, not their own personal experiences, and therefore should be aware of the opinions and attitudes of the community instead of shutting up somebody that expresses them in a board meeting when it's on the agenda, and as representatives of the people who own and support the schools and accept the responsibility to identify community attitudes instead of scorning somebody at a meeting.
You're not going to tell me that your efforts,
and this is a parent,
are better focused on something like Kendi's theory than on my child's academic success. That is not what you're here for. That is not what the educators are here for. And they should not be burdened with shouldering that when the public
now listen to what she says about recalling them, about standing with her to get these people fired.
Hasn't had an opportunity to be a part of that process. That is not what you were elected to do. And just as the gentleman said that in June, we have an opportunity to recall members of the board, I'd like to ask those of you who stand with me to support my efforts in recalling the members of the board who are proposing this product, as they call it.
That's exactly what you need to do.
There you go. That's exactly what you need to do. It's like Tatum goes on to say, that's exactly what you need to do. You need to show up to these conferences because they're so used to no parents not showing up. And this is the time that you need to. I mean, you really do. If you don't think it's being pushed, here, I sent something to break and I'll put it out there in the chat too. There's an actual somebody that's made a map, the critical race theory map that shows you, it'll show you the colleges that it's in the states, but I will tell you, they don't have enough listing of the elementary schools that are doing it. He has, if you look at the left, there's a K through 12. Here, I'll just bring it up and show you, that shows where there's some articles that you can find that where they're talking about it, put it in these schools. I'm telling you right now, if you have a child, a grandchild, if your neighbor has kids in school, you need to investigate what this doctrine teaches children. This is, if you look, like I said, K through 12, it says it's hard to figure out each individual school because it is up to the board, but there's a lot of really good articles here that talk about it, some videos that will talk about it, and I'll give that to you guys so you can keep up with it. And it's just, I'm telling you right now, one of the things, the guy here in Tennessee, I'll highlight him as well, that is pushing it. I tweeted him out the other day to bring awareness to who is doing it here in my state. And this is him. And again, I encourage all of you to go find out who's doing this in your state. Ashford Hughes Sr. Right here, he says, key working terminology to address our at Metro Schools equity and education efforts. Other essential terms for this work: racial equity, cultural representation, white privilege, race. Dr. Billings was amazing, fired up, ready to go. Our student in our city can't wait. What do you think what they're teaching children about white privilege? They're teaching these kids that they should be ashamed of the color that they were born with some kind of privilege. I'll tell you why he's going to have issues here in the state of Tennessee is because you're trying to tell these students that that they didn't get where they are because of their hard work, that their hard work in school, getting good grades, doing all the studying has nothing to do with their success. It's because of the color of their skin. And if you want to impersonate that onto small children, then something is wrong with you. Trust me, and when I say I will work with whoever I need to make sure that this man's efforts are not successful in this state. And I would highly encourage you not to, maybe to do it in yours as well. Go ahead.
Good segue. And of course, this story broke. I'm sure many of you saw this, but I didn't realize, I don't know if the story was actually updated from what we thought. It was just one little compound that they bought. But New American had this as Marxist BLM co-founders, 3 million plus real estate binge includes home in white neighborhood. And yeah, we thought it was just a house they bought that happened to be in a white neighborhood, you know, with all those nice funds everybody thinks is going to Black Lives Matter. Seems there's a little hypocrisy afoot here. So it seems that socialism is as profitable as ever, at least for those preaching it most loudly. Gee, where have we heard that before? He who yells the loudest. There was Senator Bernie Sanders, for example, who owns 3 homes worth a minimum, the better part of $2 million. But the avowed Vermont socialist may seem like a piker compared to Black Lives Matter co-founder and self-proclaimed trained Marxist Patrice Cullors. So the colors of money. Well, she's 37, may prefer neo-Marxism, at least for you, but for now, she's content to enjoy capitalism's fruits. In fact, as protests raged across America, she went on a little real estate buying binge to the tune of $3.2 million, snatching up 4 tiny homes, maybe, I don't know, reports the New York Post. That's just in the United States, too. The activist also eyed property in the Bahamas at an ultra-exclusive resort where Justin Timberlake and Tiger Woods both have homes. The Post has learned. The paper also informs luxury apartments and townhouses at the beachfront Albany Resort outside Nassau are priced between $5 and $20 million, according to a local agent. Completely understandable. Continual agitation resulting in riots that destroy other people's property must be very stressful. Cullors would need a place to kick back and relax on a white sand beach. Girls in the hood. Speaking of all things white, Cullors will also endure the stress of living in her new digs near Malibu, California. That's where she purchased last month a $1.4 million home in an exclusive LA neighborhood where the vast majority of residents are, ding, 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 white, according to reports, wrote the Post in a different article. The home, which features 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, is nestled in Topanga Canyon and has a separate guest house on the property, according to a celebrity real estate blog, which reported the transaction last week. The paper continues. That's great. Cullors can now house some of those guests, aka unaccompanied minors, her friends in D.C. have invited into our country. The property, which is about a 15-minute drive from Malibu Beaches, features bamboo floors and vaulted ceilings, according to the listings, as well as soaring ceilings, skylights, and plenty of windows with canyon views. The Post further informs. So there you have it, the all fruits of labor. Basically, she is about as big a grifter as the old Reverend L. Sharpton, just a shakedown artist, just like the rest of them, just a big ass grifter. Got no business doing what she's doing. And of course, I look forward to all the BLM members going after her and saying, where's our share? And by the way, the BLM folks, in their doctrine, no property rights. Why is she buying property when there are to be no property rights per their own doctrines and mantras? Just a thought.
It'll be interesting to see if, some of them do like go after her or, stand up to her.
I sincerely hope they do. I hope they do. I hope they eat their own. I hope they go after her. I hope they, and I'm not going to advocate this, but let's just say if some property damage were to occur, then it's, it's on them.
I'm going to say this too, really, really quick. I think that that the lowercase BLM Black Lives Matter movement, when it came out a few years ago before it was politicized, had valid arguments. They did. Am I going to sit up here and lie to you and say that that cops don't get on power trips? As some of you may not know, I used to work for the police department as a 911 dispatcher. Thankfully, I worked in a community where most of the people were veterans and had been on the force for a while, and they're really good people, and they're really reserved, and they want to actually find criminals. But you will find the newer people that just get on there. They go through this power trip where they think they need to pull over everyone to give everybody a ticket, and they're these blah 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 blahs. There are certain police departments that think they themselves are above the law. They're out there. And so is there a need, I think, for more training or the cops to call out bad cops? Yes, because if you've got a department, I'm going to use an even number here, with 100 police on it, and 95 of them are good, and you have 5 bad, and those 95 don't say anything about the 5 bad, then you have 100 bad cops, because they're letting it go on. And I'll give you this one example to show you. I watch this channel sometimes for my military fix. This guy's really good. It's called the Vigilance Elite, and he interviewed this guy that is a veteran. He's a former Green Beret, a former CIA contractor. Has been in over 20 combat deployments with the CIA alone. He did all these tours, 21 of them, and he comes home, and in the state of Georgia, he gets shot in the head. Before they had misidentified him, didn't tell his wife till that night at 1 o'clock in the morning. She'd been looking for him all day. The sheriff said that they had him in, they was processing him. Didn't even tell her he was in the hospital, in a coma, had been shot in the head. They told her that if she showed up at the hospital, and they finally did tell her that she would be arrested, and blah blah. But anyway, that's the channel. He does some really good interviews. But this was in Georgia, Monroe County, Georgia, and so he in this interview highlighted some of the things this police department has done. Here's a few of them: cotton candy or meth. This woman had cotton candy in a car that she had borrowed. It was budged up in a bag at the bottom, and they found out they tried to tell her it was methamphetamine. It was cotton candy. They arrested her and kept her in jail for a month, until the GBI, that's the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Every state has the first letter, and then it's BI, if you didn't know. But came back and said, no, this ain't meth, it's cotton candy. So that's just one story. Then we have this one where the same county, Monroe, he took a woman out in the woods and said he'd help her with a DUI if she did something freaky deaky for him. Another one, that's another Monroe County deputy arrested on drug possession, distribution charges. And so this is the man's story. He's in custody after altercation, but they had tried to say he was a criminal, habitual criminal. This man had never been in jail a day in his life. They misidentified him. So yes, there are police departments that definitely need to be cleaned up out there. And if I think they would have kept it legitimate and had legitimate complaints, then that's one thing. But instead, what they did was try to politicize something, make it about all these other issues that shouldn't be about, and then and then go burn down damn cities and tag buildings with BLM. But who do you think is going to, who in the hell do these people think is going to have to pay for all those repairs? All the cops' cars they burnt, all the buildings they burnt down, forget all the lives they've destroyed. But who do you think at the end pays for all that? It's taxpayers that wound up having to pay for all that destruction. They did nothing but up the bill for the people in that community. So that's all I have to say about it, because I don't want anybody to think that, me personally, I don't know that there's police departments out there that are on some big power trip. They definitely need to come back down to reality. But what BLM has done is hurt a cause that they maybe really could have got some serious change with. So that's it. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Well, and a little bit of a follow-up to a piece I did here in the last week or so. I guess it's been a little bit more than a week ago. It was kind of around the 10-year anniversary of Fukushima. We're finding out that Japan says it's inevitable that dumping of Fukushima radioactive water in the Pacific Ocean is now unavoidable. And if you remember right, the initial major earthquake, tsunami, all that was on 3/11/2011. There we go. This being the 10-year anniversary of it. And of course, there's been a lot of media blackout in regards to what all has technically been going on there. If you followed the story in that or found anything in that over the years. This comes by way of the Mind Unleashed, but while Japan last month marked the 10th anniversary of the devastating 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami with solemn ceremonies, the government has also been stressing the successes of its recovery efforts in the country's northeast. In truth, however, the country is still coping with the aftermath of the Fukushima Daiichi disaster, which has already cost Japan trillions of yen, and whose exclusion zone will require up to 40 more years to fully rehabilitate. And with contaminated water continuing to build up at the ruined Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga said that the government must finally begin dumping it into the Pacific Ocean. With nuclear waste and fuel rods still contaminating the area, over 1 million tons of radioactive wastewater continue to seep from the facility, according to the Japan Times, forcing authorities into what Suga describes as the unavoidable position of having to dump the water. Officials claimed the water would be purified to the maximum extent possible, whatever that means, but environmentalist groups like Greenpeace warn that the water contains hazardous material that could damage human DNA and the health of marine life. Says fishers also fear that consumers will refuse to buy fish caught in contaminated waters, worsening their plight amid a restriction of imports from Fukushima Prefecture imposed by 15 countries and regions. Regardless, authorities argue they must deal with the cards they have been dealt, and what to do if they treated water as a task that the government can no longer put off without setting a policy, Japanese Trade Minister Hiroshi Kajiyama said on Wednesday. Suga is expected to formally decide on the course of action by next Tuesday, and if he proceeds, authorities will dilute tritium to 2.5% of the maximum concentration allowed by the country before it is dumped. But while Japanese officials say that the water will be safe, it remains an open question whether people will trust their word. And of course, again, citing the fact that over the last 10 years, there has been a virtual media blackout. You will not hear this stuff, primarily, especially in the couple years following what happened in Fukushima. There was virtually nothing you heard in regards to all the levels of contamination, the stuff that hit the shores within a matter of days in Canada and the West Coast, the elevated levels of radiation and that were picked up by various meters. You don't hear too much by way of mass die-offs and things of that nature, of marine life, aquatic life, things of that nature. You're not going to hear that, but perfectly okay to dump a little tritium in the water. And hey, if it wrecks your DNA, well, heck, it'll just go right along with that COVID mRNA vaccine. So you are doubly blankety blanked.
Or the fact that they never even patched the leak from the initial earthquake.
No,
it's leaked an Olympic-sized pool worth of radioactive material every minute from the initial leak because the robots they initially sent down were burnt up. Yeah. Number one. Number two, where the hell is Greta Thunberg? And what is California bitching about plastic straws? Fukushima's been leaking like a kid for 10. Fukushima's been leaking like a sieve for 10 years. For 10 years. And to Breaking's point, nobody says a daggum thing about it. But we're worried about plastic straws. While is handing out heroin needles. But yeah. So there's that. Well, I don't know if you have any COVID stuff today. I will wait for that if you will, because you'll set me up for mine. But
I
can
do.
Do you have anything, Sonny, before we just run
No, you
all
guys,
over?
you go ahead.
I'm actually
Because
gonna
I like your Twitter thread stuff.
I'm gonna
the
do
videos you show.
Thank you very much. But nope, you guys go ahead. I'll just kind of comment from the peanut gallery.
I got a couple I'll do back to back here, kind of a good cop, bad cop type scenario here. But if you've been paying attention, and speaking of disasters, there's been a horror on St. Vincent with the blow up of the old volcano down here in recent days. But it gets worse because now only vaccinated evacuees are able to flee amid fears of the next big volcanic eruption. Only people who are vaccinated can evacuate on cruise ships, as the La Soufriere volcano on the eastern Caribbean island of St. Vincent erupted on Friday. This creates a two-tier society where vaccinated people have already fled the island on cruise ships, while non-vaccinated folks are choking on volcanic ash. And just like that, the COVID passport slippery slope has been amply and frighteningly demonstrated with great clarity in an ongoing life and death situation. As a below CBS clip from this weekend confirms, we're now already far past some imagined theoretical brave new world slippery slope. Indeed, we've blown past it in the worst nightmare scenario. And continues on, CBS Evening News had this as nearly 20,000 people have been forced out of their homes on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent after a volcano erupted there for the first time in more than 40 years. Cruise ships are now evacuating people from the island, but only those vaccinated against COVID-19.
Nearly 20,000 people are out of their homes on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent after the first volcanic eruption there in more than 40 years. The volcano sent a thick cloud of smoke 20,000 feet into the sky, spewing ash for miles. Cruise ships are evacuating people from the island, but only those vaccinated against COVID. Nearly 20,000.
So there you have it. It says as some 16,000 people in the direct path of destruction on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent are now fleeing for their lives, also amid power outages and even water supplies cut. And as the sun has been essentially blacked out by a massive blanket of ash, islanders are now being told they might not be rescued if they don't have a COVID-19 vaccination. How very, very convenient, right? Get the jab or face death by the destructive force of the volcano is the apparent quote-unquote logic, according to the rescuing cruise ship operators and island health authorities. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves told reporters in a press conference Wednesday that only vaccinated people could evacuate on the cruise ships. The chief medical officer would be identifying the persons already vaccinated so that we can get them on the ship, Gonsalves told reporters. Gonsalves' vaccination rules appear to have been implemented by Barbados, Grenada, Antigua, and St. Lucia's island nations. These countries are only accepting fully vaccinated refugees. Twitter users were not pleased with the idea that only those vaccinated people could escape the island. On Sunday, skip that part, Caribbean News Network said conditions on the island worsened. There has been rumbling, lightning, and heavy ashfall were observed, and residents reported power cuts. So here you go, folks. This is their dystopian world, or utopian, I guess I should say. This is exactly what's going to happen with the rollout of these passports worldwide. You're going to have this two-tiered society. And if by chance there's a major earthquake, a major flood, a major volcanic eruption, or some other natural disaster, well, it's going to be those that are vaccinated that are going to get preferential treatment. And perhaps maybe there's a blessing in disguise out of all this at the end of the day, that perhaps maybe things resume and come back to normal. And perhaps the people who were left behind live on happily ever after and kick the people out that used to be there that are vaccinated. Maybe they don't allow them back in. We're better off without you. Screw you guys. So we'll have to see. And on the opposite side of the coin, Good Samaritan pilot flies family kicked off Southwest flight over face mask to Austin. So again, this two-tiered society that we now live in, if you do not obey, well, this is what happens, and occasionally you're going to have the Good Samaritan step up. Says a Denver family got on a flight on a private plane after being kicked off a Southwest flight to Austin because her toddler was not wearing his mask. A family posted a Facebook video after they were kicked off their flight to Austin because a 2-year-old, was not wearing his mask. A local pilot who heard the Harvey family's story and stepped up to help with his private plane. Eric Harvey, his wife Michelle, and her 2.5-year-old son Jackson were all set to fly from Denver to Austin through Southwest Airlines on April 1st. Being very aware of the federal mask mandate for all flight customers over the age of 2, the Harvey family knew they had to get their son used to wearing his mask before the departure. Eric Harvey's 18-minute-long Facebook post on her experience received over 1,000 views. One of those viewers included an old family friend named James Peck, who is also a pilot. I practiced with him at least 2 or 3 times at the house, and every time he threw it off. Good for him. But I figured that Southwest would work with us on the plane because he's 2, said Michelle. Michelle says when the family boarded, Jackson was wearing his mask. It was when they were seated that he took it off. The flight attendant came up to me, and at that point, Jackson had taken off his mask. She says, "I'm sorry, ma'am, you're going to have to get off the plane. Your son needs to wear his mask." Southwest Airlines released a statement to Fox 7 on the situation. It says, "We regret the inconvenience this family experienced on their recent Southwest Airlines trip. However, federal law requires all customers 2 and over to wear a face mask while at the airport and on board the aircraft. This is communicated to customers in multiple areas, including during the booking processes, checking in, boarding, and pre-flight messaging. Our customer relations team has reached out to the customers to further discuss the situation. We appreciate the ongoing support and spirit of cooperation among Southwest customers and employees as we take care of each other while striving to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And Eric's 18-minute-long Facebook video on her experience received over 1,000 views. One of those viewers, and it looks like this repeats, but bottom line, the miracles will come to you, things will show up, and that Good Samaritan will show up, said Eric. So again, little bit of both sides of the coin on what are things to come in regards to all this shenanigans with the COVID-19, this 2-tiered society we're going to end up finding ourselves in. So good segue.
Well, I just think that it's awful funny that nobody can show you any scientific proof that it does anything. I mean, the most evidence of
virus exists.
The most evidence of it being spread is in homes when people are locked indoors in close spaces. There's nothing proven about airplanes or grocery stores or concerts or any of it. But it is like attack on the economy. I mean, it's plain and simple at this point. It's attack on the economy. It's like they're with you talking about them printing out money every day, like it's toilet paper, to them still trying to shut down, keep these businesses shut down. It's disgusting.
Well, I am absolutely thankful that they are doing this because they're showing their hand and showing that we do not need them. We vote with our dollars.
One video of a guy who said, I was just on a plane trip, and so we had to mask up, and everybody's masked up. And he said then as soon as they came around with the food and beverages, everybody took their mask off to eat and drink. What's up with that? I mean, does that even make sense? You're sitting next to people and all of a sudden you get to take your mask off to eat and drink. I mean, yes, you need to take it off to eat and drink, but what I'm saying is everyone had their mask off at the same time. So if you're breathing all at the same time, that doesn't even make sense. There's so much stuff that doesn't make sense.
They don't care. It's all about compliance and obeying. It's a system of control at the end of the day. And if they can't control you, then what do they have? They've got nothing. Right. And if that whole plane would have stood up, it would have been much better off. It would have kept that plane grounded, but nobody did. And that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to people rising up and saying enough is a frickin' enough.
And people snapping other people out of it. Come on, think about this. Why do we have to wear masks the whole time? But now we're all taking them off at once, breathing the same air, and that's okay. Does that make sense?
It's the most discriminatory virus the world has ever seen. That's ludicrous. Okay, Soko, you're up.
Okay, I'm just going to kind of fly through this quickly. I have several articles on it, but I'm just going to show you. I did a search the other day for, I don't even know what I was looking at, and I saw this article pop up, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I dug a little bit further into it and started finding all kinds of crazy stuff. So first off, this is one of the older articles I found after the one I'll show you in a few minutes. This is from January the 26th. So I'm just going to make that clear. It says Mexican hand sanitizers placed on import alert by the FDA. Okay, all right then. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration announced Tuesday that alcohol-based hand sanitizers from Mexico have been placed on an import alert. The FDA says the hand sanitizers are potentially dangerous and pose a possible threat to U.S. consumers. I'll ask y'all a question. When everything was being sold out, what was the things you couldn't find? Toilet paper, Lysol, and what? Hand sanitizer. How many people do you think bought hand sanitizer? Okay. The agency states that 84% of hand sanitizers imported from Mexico are not in compliance with the FDA regulations and that they were found to contain toxic ingredients that include methanol and/or 1-propanol to unacceptable levels. The FDA analyzed the samples from April through December of 2020. You mean to tell me it took you, 8 months to analyze this stuff to tell you something might be wrong? I don't believe that shit. But it kind of goes down here and it lists a few of them I thought was not hilarious, a little concerning. Look at the use of botanicals. What do you think when you think of botanicals? You don't think that it's got, toxic elements in there, but they used words like botanicals. There was another one down here that I was like, good word salad there. All these 4 E's. Look, real clean. Real clean for what? Poisoning? I don't know. So there's that one. That one was again from January. And then, so here's this one. This is from March the 31st. So this is not even 2 weeks old. 21 hand sanitizers found to have high levels of cancer-causing chemicals. Amid global pandemic, hand sanitizers has been considered a life-saving tool to prevent the spread of germs. But a new study by Velisure, an independent lab, there's an important word, independent, that assesses drug product quality, found dangerous levels of benzene in 21 of 260 batches of hand sanitizer. Remember that word, batches. In a survey of 168 different brands, benzene levels exceeded the FDA Drug Administration temporary limit on the amount of chemical permitted in hand sanitizers, or 2 ppm. These findings were alarming and reveal a serious potential risk to public health, for which Vascular requests expeditious action from the FDA to properly address. Benzene is considered a carcinogenic, a cancer-causing chemical. And previous studies have found there's probably no safe level of exposure for people. In the case of hand sanitizers, benzene can enter the body through inhalation or absorption through the skin. I don't know, what does hand sanitizer do? Absorb through your damn skin. It is known to cause blood cancers such as leukemia. You can't make this up. So here's another 21. What is it? 21 hand sanitizers. We just told you Mexico. 80-something% from Mexico, 84%. Then you have 21 in America. Then I saw this one came out. This was March the 9th. Johnson & Johnson's Talc lawsuits are fueling skepticism of its COVID-19 vaccination. Look what this one does. People are concerned because Johnson & Johnson's had a lot of issues they have. Hundreds of social media posts linked allegations to the company's Talc could cause cancer. What's going on with them giving people stuff that has cancer-causing agents in it? Don't get me involved in the vaccine and some of the independent doctors that have come out and their concerns about that vaccine and what it could increase your chances of. I'll give you one guess. Starts with a C, ends with an R. But so here's another one. This is they produced this thing. The company has always defended its product. Several juries have reached verdicts against Johnson & Johnson, awarding a $4.7 billion in damages to 22 women in 2018. So, you got to look at people's track records of whether or not they're concerned about your health or not. So there was that one. Is this one another one? Oh, yeah. So this made me stumble onto this one. This is February the 25th. Lawsuits alleging baby food manufacturers failed to disclose lead and arsenic in the product. This is baby food. Manufacturer Beechnut has recently was hit with at least 4 class action lawsuits, class action complaints, blah, blah, blah. And here's the thing. It says they freaking knew it. For years, these baby food companies have known that their products contained high levels of toxic heavy metals. Wall's attorney for Christopher Lung said in a statement, that's unacceptable, and we tend to hold these companies accountable. Unacceptable? That's putting it lightly. So for years, they knew it was in there, and they did absolutely nothing. Well, let's not tell anybody. We save a buck on it. But I just thought that was, think about all that. Then I ran into this one. Abortions can happen safely and entirely at home. Make sure they put opinion here. Thank you very much for your two's opinion. But it says last year, over concerns of exposure for COVID, a federal judge ended the U.S. Federal and Drug Administration requirement that mifepristone, a medication necessary to terminate an early pregnancy, must be obtained directly from a hospital or provider's office. On January 12th, the Supreme Court reinstated that requirement over the objection of medical organizations. Do you think? The ruling put us back where we were. Among the 20,000 medications regulated by the FDA, mifepristone is the only one that requires an in-person pickup. Maybe because it's pretty important that you're supervised whenever the drug is solely used to terminate a life. This decision was heartbreaking to us, and it felt unfair. Patients taking objectively more dangerous drugs are not forced to appear in person during a raging pandemic. So yeah, so this is where that rabbit hole, just showing you how rabbit hole can lead you down. I went from hand sanitizer to talc powder to this. But yeah, so I thought it was worth sharing to let y'all know what's going on with the hand sanitizer world. So yeah, everybody was out flocking and buying up all the hand sanitizer. And yeah, now we've got problems with hand sanitizer having carcinogenic stuff in it. Go ahead.
Heard some people think that Johnson & Johnson, because I think there's so much, we've heard that name so much, Johnson & Johnson is the safer vaccine. And it's like, have you ever looked into the Johnson & Johnson company? They're not the wholesome company that people think they are.
Absolutely none of them are safe at this point. Moderna, doesn't matter if it's Pfizer, BioNTech, doesn't matter if it's AstraZeneca, Oxford, it doesn't matter if it's Johnson & Johnson. Heck, we're even finding out, I'm seeing some stories about the Sino one out of China, but the one I have not really seen too much about, and I still am waiting. If any of you guys out in the chat have any information on the Sputnik 5, I would be glad to entertain it, but I've not seen too much by way of any negative ill effects of the Sputnik 5 out of Russia, because as this whole business has played out with AstraZeneca and the whole blood clot deal, it took them a long time to even admit that there might be a problem causing all these blood clots. And in the meantime, everybody in the EU is shutting down, denying the AstraZeneca. They just had some hearings this past week where I think they finally admitted it. And the EU has been very, very reluctant because my Russia is bad, obviously, and looking at even entertaining the Sputnik 5. So again, none of these are proven. Most of these vaxes and that have to go through some very long studies. We are at this point still under an emergency access use, EAU, or whatever, at this particular point. And so there's no long-term studies on either efficacy or how well it's going to work or anything along those lines. But in the meantime, they want you to 100% step up and get the jab. It's experimental. And of course, I think some of this has been put to rest. I'm not sure. The very fact that people were saying because it's experimental, it may void your life insurance. I have seen some articles come through recently that suggest that may not necessarily be the case. So again, do your research at the end of the day. And more importantly, and I see some of you guys putting out in chat, 99.97% chance of surviving. And of course, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, zinc, azithromycin, vitamin D, vitamin C, every single one of those things that they don't want you to know that all benefit your immuno health or to your benefit. They're not going to tell you that stuff. And it's cheap.
And they're starting to talk about boosters in a year.
Of course they will. This is how they get the $50 billion corporations net by the year 2025. Folks, if you don't realize this, do your research on Big Pharma. They have a plan. They have had a plan for many years, and it coincides with Gavi and the 10-year plan with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and that to put jabs in everybody. If you've noticed, just jabs in general, look at the schedule your kids have to go through, where they started, say, back in the 80s and 90s versus where they are today. It is like a 100-fold jump on how many they have to get now, from the time you're born to the time you're 18. It's literally north of, like, I want to say like 60, 80, something along those lines. Back when I was a kid, I think there might have been, I don't know, a dozen at best. Why? It's all about profitability. Profitability before people.
And feeling like, just to the making us sick, not quite taking us out, but limiting us as much as they can without killing us off.
Keep you on the sickness wheel. Keep you on the sickness wheel. Eat bad food, make you sick. They go get a prescription to, kill or give you a remedy for what ails you. Doesn't fix you, but whatever ails you, and just perpetually keep you on that wheel. Bleed off your wealth, bleed off your productivity, bleed off anything that would make you a productive person, with any sort of energy to give back to others. That's ultimately
treat
what it's
the
about.
symptoms. Treat the symptoms, but we don't really care what the root cause is. Just let's treat the symptoms.
Yeah. So good segue into another piece net that I got here out of the Marshall Report here yesterday. It says, faith wins over fear. Pull back the curtain and see the real enemy. Kennedy knew the secret plans and they killed him. The devil had a mission and he was not going to relent. To destroy America from within, they first had to destroy the family unit and dumb down the people. And boy, howdy, have they. Just look at the society around you. Any store you go into with people with masks on versus those that don't. Very similar to the clip I played at the very beginning here. The children in the days after Kennedy heard a musical onslaught in the middle of Ozzie and Harriet. Father Knows Best, an American bandstand, while Ed Sullivan introduced a new wave of British sound, and the CIA experimented with mind-altering drugs like LSD. These days were filled with a different type of high technology that led to peace, love, rock and roll, free sex, and commune living. Assisted with Marxist ideology and Saul Alinsky recruits, a new war had begun, and very few knew it. And some probably still don't realize that we are in a Cold War of sorts. It says, after all, those bell bottoms were groovy, and no one wanted to send off youth to fight a war in Vietnam. It was time to put flowers in your hair and make peace, not war. The Pied Piper was playing America's youth, was following all the way to the dawning of Aquarius. Some made it through this phase of indoctrination all the way into politics, which was the plan all along. A new war had begun. It worked well. Division from within, directed at the youth, starting nearly a century earlier when they made children wards of the state. To change the future, it always begins with the children and what you can have them desire and believe. And when you assassinate great men in front of them, it makes the illusion of peace on earth even more of an illusion. The ancient battle has never ceased. It was only shapeshifted into the form it needed to be in order to deceive. The battle is raging and has always raged to usurp the seed of Adam, destroying it from the face of the earth, and let Lucifer come out into the light of day and rule over whatever is left. For he knows his end fully well, and his revenge is deep. It extends to every soul on earth to join him in darkness forever. The war between good and evil has never ended, nor shall it end until God's people realize they have the power within themselves to overcome the evil ones. That power is the gift of the Holy Spirit and the Lord residing inside their fleshly body to guard their souls from the satanic realm. We have been misguided for centuries, not knowing true history. We are now waking up with eyes to see what the real battles are and what is taking place in the realms we have been blind to. The Lord has promised to restore us to our former glory. The Word of God tells us that Adam was created in the image of God, made a little lower than the angels. The heavens were open to Adam, and he was able to commune with God daily. And then the day came, and the serpent entered the garden of paradise and seduced Eve into taking the forbidden thing, and offered it to Adam, who also partook And then they became aware of their sin, and God sent them out from the garden into the earth. Imagine being a being of light with the heavens open in need of nothing, and suddenly finding yourself thrust into a state of flesh like the animals you named, with a body that feels pain and suffering. The heavens are no longer as a molten looking glass where you can see the light of the angels and the glory of all heaven. All that is left is a memory of such glory. And as you look down at your body and touch your hands, it has become flesh and no longer a being of light, made just a little lower than the angels. But the Lord left Adam and Eve with a promise that in 5.5 days he would return to restore them to their former glory, and they would return to paradise. Days as in 1,000 years, 5,500 years. And the Word did as promised. When he returned on earth, it was 5,500 years from the time he promised deliverance to Adam. And the Lord broke down the gates of hell and freed the prisoners it held. Imagine the rejoicing of Adam and all who awaited that day. We are now on earth, coming to the final completion of the promises of God's word to set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, the kingdom of God. And all living in this final generation have been called to open our eyes to see it. We have been given the signs to watch for, and we were told to watch for the Lord shall come at a time when no one is thinking he shall come. It will be as in the days of Noah and Sodom and Gomorrah. Evil shall abound. The war rages on, and a call to awake and have eyes to see is sounding in the air like a giant shofar. The war is won through faith and worship of the Lord. He has given us the power to rebuke the evil and call on God in the name of the Lord to bring down strongholds in his name. We are told to put on the whole armor of God and resist the devil, and he shall flee. Praise the Lord in honor and in thanks, and stand strong. Open your eyes and see what it is we are to do. Follow the Lord where he leads you and expose the evil. This is what wins the war. This is why the enemy censors and shuts people up. This is why those who have exposed their evil are assassinated. The evil has tried to hide the truth of the power of God since the Garden of Eden, and he has declared war from the moment he lied to the angels of heaven, promising them all sorts of things to follow him in his rebellion to take over God's throne. He failed, and all that followed him were cast out and punished. He knows he has little time left, and his goal is to destroy as many souls of God as he can. He is out to kill, steal, and destroy. He always has been, and the way to do it best is through fear, which is the opposite of faith. Stay strong, fear not, and behold the salvation of the Lord. Take back your power over evil, and praise the Lord for the victory over death, and sing glory to the coming of his kingdom, for it was promised to come, and even now it is appearing. So there you go, a little word of encouragement here for today that yes, evil is all around us. It is going to get a lot worse, folks. I can promise you that. And yes, as she stated, the opposite of fear is having faith in the Lord, and be bold. Be bold in everything you do. Stand strong. Go against everything that you know to be wrong. Stand up in righteousness and just do it.
Amen. Well, that's a great segue into this. I don't know if you've been watching the Canada church, the one where they put the fence around it.
Yep.
I mean, not only shut it down, locked the pastor up in jail. I think he got out. I think this is the particular story. And then they went to a protest yesterday, I believe, tried to pull the fence down, and the police, broke it up, put the fence back up. I did find this clip. I'm going to grab the share. Oh, grab the wrong screen there. Okay. So Ezra Levant is this Rebel News, and I believe probably Rebel News is probably the left, or the only news out of Canada that is conservative left. Is that?
I think they took their site down as part of this.
Oh, okay.
I
did find this clip, and I will stop it once just because out of respect for Rebel News, because they're commercialized.
Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes.
What did you mean by they got to him?
They got to him?
Yeah, Breaking said something about they got to them for this.
I had seen yesterday. I've seen this floating around social media, the same post, and I think that the Rebel News website and that was pulled down.
Out of Canada. Okay,
Yeah.
they're still on Twitter. Let me click on. I'm clicking on their website. Well, they did a whole bunch. I do see it online yet. I do seem to be able to move around it. It could have been something temporary, though. You know, they could have.
It might have been. I don't know.
Weird.
It was a whole thing. Like this Ezra Levant had. It was a Airbnb boat he rented, and he went on a walk or something, and the police came and wouldn't let him back in the boat. He had his medication in there. He was trying to get back in the boat. They wouldn't let him in the boat. They were searching his boat. They were trying to stop them from, gathering people. And I don't know if there were multiple protests going on, but yeah.
Well, the bottom line, it's only a matter of time before that hits our lands here. Don't think for a second that it won't.
I actually have one story about it that maybe is a little encouraging. It says the SCOTUS blocks California's restrictions that limits in-home religious gatherings. Blocked California restriction that limits in-home religious worship, finding the regulation violates the First Amendment. It says the court ruled again that California's different and worse rules for the temples of God than the temples of commerce did not withstand strict scrutiny. Not withstand the strict scrutiny. So, I mean, again, that's the issue for me. That's been hard for me, like on the sidelines, is I wish that there was some kind of, anybody out there knows of any, please comment below this video, wherever. YouTube's the easiest place to comment below, and unfortunately I hate that, but it is. But of like some kind of a company or I don't know, what am I trying to say here? An organization of like lawyers that would be willing to do even pro bono work to push back on some of these, Orwellian laws that all these states are trying to force on its people with no science behind it. It's just a power struggle. It's been politicized. Like people, as soon as people stand up for their rights and like take these people to court, you notice that they're like, oh my God, they're actually suing us. So I know that a lot of people are prevented from doing it because the amount of money that it takes to do it. And I have like struggled in my own mind. Do we set up some kind of fund? Do I do that? Do like we set up something where people can start like donating in, and then we give it to one person in a state that can, represent the whole state to try to roll back these regulations, because that's what you have to do. If people just keep rolling over and taking it, then they're just going to keep taking more. But like you take them to court and you make it be heard in front of a judge, then you know what I'm saying. Nobody's really doing that though, and I understand. Again, I understand it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of money to do that.
I think at the end of the day, it's about survival. People are afraid to lose their jobs or livelihoods, and they don't realize the level of sacrifice it's actually going to take, because freedom is not free. I hate to tell folks, but freedom is not free, and it does require sacrifice. And if you're not willing to sacrifice, then what are the chances people are going to want to give up their jobs in times when they're seeing, the things going on, the requirements and that are now being imposed on them if they're at their various workplaces. The price of everything is going up. The squeeze is going to get put on. They may lose their house. They may lose, whatever things that they may be used to. It's going to be quite uncomfortable for a lot of folks. And
we were talking before the show about the differences in regions, and I really feel that here. Like even the conservatives that I have talked to that know what's going on are getting to the point where they just don't even want to talk about it. They just don't want to hear about it. Let's just go about our lives. Let's just go about our business. I don't want to talk about the negative. I just want to live my life. And I really think that in the end, that's just going to go, I'm just going to submit. I'm just going to do you know, what the law or what they're putting on us. Sadly.
As the old saying goes, may the chains of slavery rest lightly upon you, and I will never have known you as a countryman.
I've even seen that
Paraphrasing.
with the Rona, like people taking the vaccines, they're being pressured by family members. Like my one cousin, her son told her that she couldn't come to his wedding unless she and her husband take the vax, because everyone needs to be vaccinated at their wedding. And
That's
she is
unfortunate.
struggling because she knows the truth, you know, and she doesn't want to create this big divide with her child. And she, of course, wants to be at his wedding. But oh my gosh, that's the kind of stuff I'm seeing here.
Yeah, that's the time of a great separation at the same time. If you read your Bible, you know that in the end there's going to be a separating of the wheat from the chaff. And that's exactly, in my opinion, what all this COVID business has actually brought about. A great separation. You even see it with the churches. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got some of the churches now who have stayed closed as part of this. They've bowed to the state and yielded their authority. And in the other cases, you got some that are kind of dipping their toe in. Well, unfortunately, you know, if you read the book of Revelation, it's like talking to the 7 churches in Asia. You know, it's like the case of the church where Christ is standing outside and saying, "Hey, I'm knocking at the door, but you guys don't hear me." And it's a case of you're neither cold nor hot. And at the end of the day, I wish, you know, you weren't lukewarm. I'll spit you out. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing play out here right now.
Well, that's what B.J. McPhail said in D-Live. He said that has happened in my family as well. We'll never see some family members ever again. That, I think that's the tragic part of it. And Skeeter had said this out there in the comment section too, is like, you know, nobody should be trashing people that decide to take it, and people shouldn't be trashing people that don't decide to take it. And I agree with that sentiment. I do. I think it's hard for people in our positions. I'll just speak for myself and say in my position, because of all the research that has been done about all of the companies that have came out with them, and knowing that they're not being honest with people, not saying that, like there's been these articles, and I've highlighted a couple over the last few months where they're saying, oh, it's FDA approved. That's the lie. It's never been FDA approved. It was allowed to be pushed through by the FDA because of an quote emergency. That they're still doing clinical trials on it. That is the facts here. And they will continue to do clinical trials on it for almost another 2 years. Nobody knows the long-term effects. The mRNA has never been used in vaccines ever before. Breaking has brought up the article from Moderna in 2018. I watched a video 2 or 3 days ago that said that that DARPA is the one that developed it in 2013.
What I've tried to do is talk to people who have not had it yet and who are open to at least hearing, look at these other sides, look at these articles, at least consider this. And I've done that with her, and I've done that with another friend. And I'm just really surprised that they know what's going on and they're still considering taking it. And the couple of people we know that we didn't think would take it have taken it, and if they've taken it, then I'm not going to say anything because they've already taken it.
The survivability rate of this disease is, if it's 99.7. If you take out the people that are under the age of 65, it's like 99.9,
right?
Something. And so you're not going to sit here and tell the same people that have been dealing with the flu every single year. And that's another thing. Notice that this has been going on for over a year, and they're still using the same numbers from the very beginning. The flu season always resets every year. They're not doing that with this one.
And I think it is different breaking. I think it is that wheat from the chaff, because like my husband thought he had his mom talked out of it, but his sister came along and got her talked into it. Same with my cousin, the same one. She had her mother talked out of it, and her sister-in-law came around and talked her mom into it. And so she has quite a few family members who are being talked into it and getting it. And now, her son is putting pressure on her. So yeah, it is. It's really affecting families and friends and people.
People have avoided dealing with the fact that there's facts, there's logic, there's reason. That's precisely why, if you're following me on my channel, I've been going through Ayn Rand's The Virtue of Selfishness, because it does get into some of the psychology. It doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. It's just a perspective everybody needs to consider. But yes, it floats right along the same lines as what Q told us for a number of years. Trust yourself, trust your research, trust yourself to with facts and logic and reason and things of that nature, and not this business of feelings and everything else that guides them.
And some of these states where too, it's, they're saying cases are surging again. And in my mind, I'm thinking these
No, they're
people
not.
that have, well, for
Their
me,
figures say it they are, but it's the PCR test that's giving false positives.
well, I was thinking that it was even these people who are getting the jabs are showing up as positives.
Yeah.
So it's like, now I'm like going with my husband, we got to be faithful about taking our, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc and stuff. And, being careful around all these people who are getting it, because I don't want to get it.
Well,
so there's even that thought.
I had to laugh the other day because an article was kicked out. Maybe you guys saw this. There was some gal, maybe it was out east, New Jersey, or some health worker or whatever, said that the article was highlighting the fact that this particular person was flaunting the fact that they got a fake vax card so that she could maintain her job. And she says, hey, I just got to do what I got to do to put bread on my family's table. And I can understand that. But then there was an article that come out shortly after from the FBI stating, oh, well, these people now do think that they're going to get away with printing fake vaccination cards and all this and that. Well, that's a fraud, and that's punishable by blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. So you're telling me it's fraudulent for us, what we know to be true, to try and circumvent the process, but it's okay for you to perpetuate your fraud. So do two frauds make a right?
Right. I get what you're saying. Yes. Yeah, that's true too. And so that, don't you think that's just another ploy going, okay, well, you're going to lose your card too easily, or people are going to make up cards and it's going to be fraud. So we really need to put something in you that would be much more sufficient.
That's ultimately where it's going to lead. Yes. Bill Gates chip.
I'm going to say this. I'm staying facts here because I like to say it on this, especially the one platform that we're on with the acronym YT. Facts here are: the man that invented the PCR test came out and said it should never be used to test for COVID. I didn't make that up.
Very Mullis.
Nobody else made it up. The man that invented it said it. So I don't understand why we're still using a faulty test, and have been for over a year, that should have never been used. We can rush through, 4 or 5 companies coming up with a vaccine at warp speed, the name of the bill, but we can't come up with a better test that is actually designed to test for it. We're still using one that the inventor said should never be used, and nobody thinks an issue with that.
Yeah, and conveniently he died in 2019, just before all this stuff started.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, just a coincidence, I'm sure. Just maybe a month or two before Event 201.
Isn't the ex-Pfizer research, ex-Pfizer guys out there trying to talk to people?
He's getting censored all over too, as a result, just like the America's Frontline Doctors, all of them that speak truth to power. Because the science is settled.
Charmaine had sent me. Charmaine had sent me one where a gentleman who's got their credentials. Well, I don't even know who you could compare it to. He's worked for Bill and Melinda Gates. He's worked for Norfidus or whatever. All these different companies as their vaccine director has come out and gave his concerns about it, talking about how you're supposed to be in the middle of this pandemic, and you're giving out vaccines knowing that the thing is mutating, hundreds and hundreds of times, if not thousands at this point. And you're giving these people a vaccine for the first strain while it's in the process of mutating. What is that? They don't even know what that could do to the system. Now we're speaking facts here. So anybody that gets censored for coming out here and stating facts, that should alarm anyone. And again, back to Skeeter's point, if you make that decision, I think Bess Nani said it, and I say this all the time: your body, your choice. I'll make that same claim when it comes to, when they say that about abortion, but then when you get to this vaccine, and all of a sudden you're a horrible human being by these leftist eyes if you don't take it. And to Sonny's point, like even if you've had COVID, so your body's already built up a natural, even better defense that a vaccine could ever give you. That's been proven scientifically.
Well,
and then they still want you to take it, and now this thing is mutated, and they're out here having big block parties in Wuhan.
How about HIPAA laws? Remember just, before this all started, and you had to stand like 6 feet away from the person in front of you, so you didn't hear their privacy at the counter when they were, getting their prescription, or at the doctor. It's like, oh my gosh, where did all these privacy laws go out the window? I thought my medical was none of anyone else's business.
Lord Fauci reduced that to 3 feet now. So apparently we found out over time, studies have now shown that the COVID virus can only jump 3 feet, not 6.
Well, to that point, I'll quickly bring this up because we're talking about it. This is the House Republicans' proposed No Vaccine Passport Act. House Republicans who oppose forcing Americans to carry a vaccine passport to prove they have been inoculated against COVID-19 have proposed a new bill to ban the federal government from demanding such documentation. And I'm profoundly disturbed that the Biden administration would even consider imposing vaccine passports on the American people. Biggs from Arizona said in a statement Thursday, "My private health care decisions and yours are nobody else's business. Vaccine passports will not help our nation recover from COVID. Instead, it will simply impose more Big Brother surveillance in our society." But some states are beginning to mandate vaccine passports, others like Florida are not.
So what is that about? Do you think the corporations are going to step in and take up the lead? And why is the government doing that? Because, they don't do really great things for us. I mean, even Waltz, my governor, came out and said he doesn't support it. And it's like weird. That's so out of character for him. So what is that all about?
So wait, continuing on, it says 18 Republican co-sponsors, and it names them all here in this article, with South Carolina, Florida, Ohio, Virginia, New Mexico, Texas, Idaho, another Chip Roy of Texas, Illinois, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, Texas, Pennsylvania. I don't see Tennessee on this list. I need to do some phone calls. But yes, one of the biggest things that you can run into that they do not play around is HIPAA. It's the same thing almost with OSHA. HIPAA is serious. HIPAA will take you to federal court if you violate someone's, their privacy and their medical. So, I mean, that's what I'm getting back to my point about lawsuits and suing people. I mean, that's just the bottom line. People are going to have to start taking these people to court. And I understand it's going to take someone that has the money to be able to do it, but you can also sue them for your illegal bills. And then a lot of these cases, you have the law on your side. If you, hopefully you're in a good district where your judges aren't corrupt, which I know Breaking's going to make a comment about, that I'm sure, but like there are still judges out there that, do care about your rights.
I guess I would offer a counter argument to that article. 2 words: plausible deniability. Why do I say that? I think it gives them just enough wiggle room to say, hey, we stepped up and said, we don't support this, so it's not by Congress that this is going to come. But what's actually going to happen is there'll be an executive decree, which, of course, any corporation will dutifully follow by old Biden. And of course, because we live in a now fascist country where there is a merger of corporations and state, and the line is now blurred, the corporations will just do exactly as told and carry it out, just like what we've seen with all the mask mandates. Doesn't matter that your governor says, hey, thou shalt not wear masks from here forward, but yet you're still seeing, just like the case in Texas where the gal went into the bank and says, you have to get off our private property. That was after the mask mandate was lifted, but the corporations still have the ability to enforce it as they see fit. So again, in my mind, I think it's just a cop-out for the old legislators and say, hey, look, we did good. We stood by our policies. Reelect us. Here, give us some more campaign cash, and away we go.
I don't know.
And they are saying, I did hear someone, I wish I could remember who said it, but he made a good point. They said, you know, a lot of young people are going to go ahead and do whatever they have to go to wherever they want to go, because they're used to going to wherever they want to go and having to do whatever. So they'll just, you know, that's becoming so normalized for them that if I have to go to a football game and get that, then I guess I'll just do that. Oh,
Yeah.
you hope not, but
we're going to end up having a two-tier society. We're probably going to have, in my opinion, there will come a point where there's going to be states who are segregated from others and that they want to follow the draconian BS. And then you're going to have the free states, whether that be the Texases, the Floridas, whatever. Boy, there's going to be quite an interesting conundrum of folks moving across state lines and mass migration potentially. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I will. Again, I just hope that the people out there that can start suing against these draconian bills will do so. And again, it's been a struggle for me because I've watched so many lawsuits take off, and then they back down. The minute they're just so used to getting away with it, you can see them inching forward. It's like, can we get away with this? It's like, then can we get away with that? I mean, they started out doing it even back in the Alex Jones days when they banned Alex Jones. It was like they were testing the waters to see if they could get away with it, and they did. And then you saw everybody else starting to get banned. And I mean, Twitter had the nerve and audacity to ban the president of the United States of America.
And I am seeing I watched Sean Baker, who does the Carnivore Meat RX. He had one, because he's been talking about this stuff. He had one of his videos shut down, and of course it made him mad. So he talked out some more about it. I just saw something too about Joe Rogan had so many videos taken down on him. So some other areas where people, there's this gal who talks about having Crohn's disease and how she ended up with a bag of colostomy and how she lost her Instagram and she doesn't even know why. So it is starting to affect people. They're starting to see all the censorship and wonder.
Yeah. All right.
Well, and because we're capitalists too, we'll just see people combat it and build other companies that will come. I mean, it's like with the My Pillow thing coming out with the new social media. You have Gab, you have people that are building their own platforms, and so Twitter will become insignificant and obsolete because people are being sick of being silenced. They are, and that's why again I say things directly to Susan Wojcicki. As from here on YouTube, I'm telling you, you're watching the Shark Tank circle back around for you.
Ooh,
so
magic.
If you don't see it coming, I don't know what to tell you. You're silencing the people that are speaking out against the people that are trying to cancel everyone else. They will come for you. Go ahead. Sorry, Ray. Do your thing.
Hang on. All right. So there is some other news out there outside of just COVID and notables here just before showtime. Trump in 2024, he says only that a Republican will win. Interesting. Dank theme song for Anons. Not sure what all that is. Might be a new tune out there. I don't know. Modem chips embedded in voting systems, computer motherboards. Perhaps this might be a little bit of a discovery in one of the many cases out there. I know there's still stuff going on in Antrim County, up in Michigan, down in Fulton County, down in Georgia, and of course the ever shenanigans going on in Maricopa, Arizona as well. More to come on that. Big Brother's Nikki Graham has died at the age of 38. No cause given for those that follow Big Brother. Not sure which version of that the show is. Impeach Joe Biden. I guess there's some talk in that, I guess, that is starting to pick up steam potentially about Republicans taking both the House and Senate in 2022 and basically electing Trump as Speaker of the House and starting impeachment proceedings that way. Nice pie in the sky thought. Whether or not that will actually indeed happen, I have no idea. I'm more inclined to believe that we need to be getting the Smartmatic, the ENES, the Dominion machines the hell off the land, period. I would much rather see that. Former California Democratic mayor arrested for sexual assault crimes against a minor, but hey, that doesn't occur, right? It's not happening. Turn a blind eye. President Trump and Melania arrived to welcome guests to Mar-a-Lago dinner at GOP donors gathering. Apparently, that is going on. Hundreds of victims rescued in global crackdown against human trafficking and migrant smuggling. Maybe they ought to start down at the border. Report following 549 Harris Company human trafficking cases reveals 90% not required to register as sex offenders. I'm sure that's just a nice little loophole they left in the old system. The Caribbean volcano erupts, but only those vaccinated against COVID allowed to evacuate. CBS reports. We already touched upon that. Turkey furious after Mario Draghi calls Erdogan dictator. How dare you, Mario? Super Mario, a demented pervert who can't tie his own shoelaces or know where he is. Sidney Powell goes off on imposter Joe Biden. Oh, haven't seen that piece. Anybody got that from over on TikTok? UFO sightings nearly doubled in New York in 2020 from the previous year. They also rose by about 1,000 nationwide. Gee, I wonder if they are gearing us up for a great deception. Plain fag reports that going on. Notables bun right here. Click on links. Okay. Bojo to give up seat at Prince Philip's funeral for a royal family member. Interesting. Apparently, Bojo not going to be partaking in royal pleasantries and whatnot going on there. Boat fire report on St. Vincent, pulling that stuff. Sandra Feuerstein, a Jewish federal judge from Long Island, was killed in a hit and run in Boca Raton, Florida, by a driver while high. Claimed she was Harry Potter. That's interesting. Before showtime, I questioned what sort of cases might Ms. Feuerstein had on her docket. Just seems a little fishy, perhaps worthy of digging on a little further. Children's Health Defense has filed a lawsuit over alleged government pressure on tech platforms to censor it. CHD covers other subjects, but they very openly present a lot of information about vaccines. That, of course, is Robert F. Kennedy's site, one of about 6 that the campaign is against now. The other one, I think I covered this the other day, about Mr. Mercola. Those are a couple of prominent sites that have been very much at the forefront, along with the America's Frontline Doctors, about all the propaganda and disinformation pushed through our Mockingbird media.
I was on
friends.
Twitter and I tried to post Mercola's an article on Mercola
Won't let
about
you,
him
will it?
being censored. It wouldn't let me.
Exactly. There you go. And I'm not even sure you can do it through short links and link shorteners either. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's definitely an active campaign across all tech platforms against about 6. Mercola, Children's Health Defense, and there's 4 others. I can't remember off the top of my head who they were off my head, but I know there's at least 6. Let's see. Could Hunter Biden already have a submarine license and was seeking a military submarine license when he joined the Navy Reserve?
Whoa.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that. Sounds a little Ghislaine Maxwell-esque.
Yeah, it sounds like someone we know.
And of course, we covered David Hogg already, fired from Pillow Business that attempted to compete with Mike Lindell's My Pillow. I guess he just couldn't hack it. And National Unicorn Day versus Popcorn Day. Interesting. And of course, Montreal has got a COVID protest and rebel media arrested. So I don't know if that's one and the same with the one that you showed, Sonny, but that's just some of the stuff that the Anons are digging on here today.
Yeah, I believe that Rebel News is that Ezra Covent or whatever his name is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Some other news going on outside of COVID and other shenanigans going on.
Well, I only have a couple things. I'll tell you what I pulled, and then I'll hopefully give some hope too at the end. This is a study that the cities where the BLM protests they had up to 6,000 more homicides than expected from 2014 to 2019. The new research shows that cities that held BLM protests saw a 10% increase in the murders that was expected from 2014 to 2019. Preliminary findings from studies conducted by Travis Campbell, a PhD student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, shows the cities with protests had somewhere between 1,000 to 6,000 more homicides than would have been expected if places with protests were on the same trend as places that did not have protests. The study showed a reduction by lethal force by police, resulting in some 300 fewer deaths from 2014 to 2019. So basically what they're saying is where there were Black Lives Matter protests, the homicide rate shot up, but the lethal force by police went down. So what's the problem here? Saying. So Biden's border czar stepped down as Biden's border crisis drastically worsens. So she decided to dip out. Probably already know all that. But, there you go. She dipped out. And then The Rock, again, teases White House run after shocking poll. I don't like that they use that. Because if you get down here in the article, it says that, hang on, let me get to the point. It says a poll released on Tuesday by Piplasay, whoever that is, found that nearly half of the 30,000 people surveyed would support his candidacy. Half. The poll found that 29% would support campaigns by both Johnson for president and actor Matthew McConaughey for Texas governor, with another 17 supporting Johnson's run only. Out of 30,000. Who takes polls?
That is interesting that these people are, because they saw, you saw the thing about Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner thinking about running for California. And who's the guy that was in Trump's campaign? Brad Parscale supposedly is helping. And I actually played that video that, from last week where Brad Parscale was rumored to be helping President Trump with his new platform. I'm not sure if that's true now.
Yeah, I think I had seen something similar. That sounds right.
And one more, Sylvester Stallone moved down to Florida and he joined Mar-a-Lago, the golf club.
Hey, Rocky.
Good one, breaking. But I find it interesting that they're pulling out all these, so-called stars. Yeah.
Actually, I should say, yo, Adrian.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, the propaganda.
Okay, so it says the presidential run from Angelina Jolie had the support of 30%, while 27% supported Oprah Winfrey, and another 22% supported Tom Hanks. Combined, 63% said that Hollywood stars would make good politicians. So again, I'm going to highlight that they polled 30,000 people. There's 324 million people in America. I don't think that says too much. I don't trust polls. They also said Hillary was going to win. So there's that. And at the end, I'm going to show this Project Veritas video of where they've made it through the defamation lawsuit. The judge denied New York Times motion to dismiss, but I can wait to play that to the end if you have something else you want to share.
Let her rip, Tater Chip.
All right. So this is encouraging. They'll get into it a little bit about how hard it is to get a defamation case heard in a court of law. So again, this is what I mean by like suing these people in lawsuits. It does make a difference. So I'll let him tell you a little bit about what's going on there. I'm sure some of you know this, but it's encouraging.
James O'Keefe here, Project Veritas.
Because they get discovery.
We have won a historic battle in a defamation lawsuit against the New York Times and New York Supreme Court, not granting motion to dismiss against the New York Times. This is extraordinary. A lot of people are talking about it. Fox News, Daily Wire, Washington Examiner, Zero Hedge, even President Trump brought it up.
Congratulate Project Veritas on their big win on the New York Times. Now the suit will continue.
Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley saying he expects to, quote, teach the case next year in his own torts class. when he deals in defamation. Now, many of you wondering, why is this such a big deal? Because to get past motion to dismiss in a defamation lawsuit against the New York Times is such a big win. Listen to this Canadian lawyer on YouTube tell you why.
The absolute state of defamation law in the United States is that it is a victory simply to be allowed to continue suing for defamation.
So much to tell you. We're going to take you through this judge's order, and we're going to give you the full details right now. This is the 8th time in more than half a century that the New York Times has lost a motion to dismiss without appeal. And we've learned this is the first case ever where the New York Times lost under New York's new anti-SLAPP laws enacted last year. Now, because we've won on this motion, we get to do discovery.
The decision by the state Supreme Court, which is a trial court, allows Veritas to take the depositions of relevant New York Times employees, which Veritas founder and President James O'Keefe said he would record and expose.
I mean, America, this is what you've been waiting for. Now we get to open up the New York Times' newsroom. They're the ones in the hot seat. Now we can shine a light into their practices and what they're doing under oath and videotaped. How did we do it? We had the help of one of the nation's best defamation lawyers, Libby Locke, who helped us sue the New York Times last fall. If you recall our investigation on the Minnesota ballot harvesting videos, which were self-evident, clear as day. It was all caught on tape.
Last year, Project Veritas, the journalism group, published a series of videos documenting what looked like voter fraud in Ilhan Omar's congressional district. In one of those videos, the brother-in-law of a Minneapolis politician is seen bragging about collecting hundreds of absentee ballots in his car.
Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. ووجد قارئ وحاس وأبسم بالت سلكايال سوجد.
Other footage showed Minneapolis officials acknowledging that political operatives were paying elderly people for their mail-in ballots.
This street, yes, there's 3 towers called 1 tower. Okay. And it's all seniors, and they took every ballot. The money was brought by Ali Ghani. Ali Ghani is the campaign chair of Ilhan. He's a staffer in her office.
It's got to be illegal, right? But it was happening.
That's illegal. Why? We don't get illegal. How much
So almost immediately, the New York Times dispatched one of its reporters to shut it down. The Times reported that the footage from Project Veritas was part of a, quote, coordinated disinformation campaign. As a matter of fact, the Times declared, Project Veritas's videos were, quote, deceptive.
Now, you just saw evidence of a man with ballots all over his lap. It's illegal in Minnesota to obtain more than 3 ballots, to have in your possession more than 3 ballots. And the New York Times bizarrely looked at the same video, which you just saw clips from, and said that we were making claims without evidence. You can see their faces. You can see the faces of the man who exchanges $200 cash, and they lied. And they said that we relied solely on unnamed sources. Now, what was interesting is that reporter Maggie Astor, who wrote the article, in the affidavit when she was then under oath in this lawsuit, she changed her tune. Remember? She changed it from solely to many. So they've already admitted that they're lying. And this is the importance of the discovery process, because only when they're under oath, do they tell the truth. It was a glaring admission that we did, in fact, used named sources. In fact, all we did was show you people talking and show you evidence. But still, the New York Times called our video deceptive and refused to retract after we asked. So we sued. The Times asked the court to dismiss our case and make us pay their attorney's fees. Well, just last week, on March 18th, Justice Charles Wood of New York Supreme Court issued a historic order. Dismissal, denied. Make us pay their fees, denied. So let's go. Now, you may remember this. This is the New York Times motion to dismiss. Now, in this motion to dismiss, which the judge has now rejected, the Times had relied upon Wikipedia. They cited Wikipedia to say that we are, quote, libel-proof. What does that even mean, libel-proof? It means that the New York Times is saying our reputation is so bad due to Wikipedia that they can get away with saying anything about us. We confronted executive editor of the New York Times, Dean Baquet, on the street in Los Angeles to ask him, why are you guys citing Wikipedia in your legal motions?
Your lawyer citing Wikipedia. Yes.
New York Times laughing maniacally. You can't even use Wikipedia in high school, in college. saying that we're libel-proof in this motion to dismiss, Turley writes, "It is the type of claim that is highly unlikely to succeed, but has a high likelihood of undermining other claims in the motion to dismiss." Now, the New York Times had argued in their motion to dismiss that labeling us as deceptive was a, quote, unverifiable expression of opinion. Now, the court did not find this quite as funny as Dean Baquet. This ruling is a stunning rebuke of the Times, in which the court says the terms, quote, deceptive and, quote, disinformation. The judge says those terms certainly apply to the Times interjecting their opinion in a news article.
Defendants argue that their statements describing Veritas video as deceptive, false, and without evidence were mere opinion, incapable of being judged true or false. However, if a writer interjects an opinion in a news article and will seek to claim legal protections as opinion, it stands to reason that the writers should have an obligation to alert the reader that it is opinion. The articles that are the subject of this action called the video, quote, deceptive, but the dictionary definitions of, quote, disinformation and deceptive provided by defendants' counsel certainly apply to Astor's and Shu's failure to note that they injected their opinions in news articles, as they now claim.
You've seen this tactic before. It's what millions of Americans know. The New York Times is guilty of what they're accusing us of.
Remember what we always say on this channel, hashtag confession through projection, because it looks like that is exactly what the New York Times did themselves.
You're guilty of what you accuse me of. It's a psychological, it's like a sign of mental illness. In fact, in a lot of the YouTube comments discussing this case, it's very insightful and speaks to the absurdity of the New York Times argument in the case. Here's one, quote, "So the New York Times' defense could have been used against themselves on almost everything they report on. The court has to explain to the New York Times, the supposed newspaper of record, the old gray lady, all the news that's fit to print without fear or favor, that readers read news, quote, expecting facts, not opinion, unquote, and that, quote, purposely designing, unquote, these articles, quote, to appear that defendants are imparting facts and evidence, unquote, is deceptive and disinformation. Opinions are not facts. This is journalism 101. But they didn't just fail me. They failed all of you. The New York Times then argued that if the court didn't buy the opinion defense, that they can prove the term deceptive was truthful. The New York Times threw everything at us.
Attached to defendants' moving papers are over 52 sources. According to defendants, these sources are not just, quote, some criticism from mainstream and or left-wing media, but rather they come from a variety of reputable sources, including Fox News, the Cato Institute, the Los Angeles Times, Newsweek, the Washington Post, and The Blaze. Far from being, quote, some criticism, these sources resoundingly describe Project Veritas as, quote, partisan zealots with a history of distorting facts or context, running cons, misleadingly editing video, and being known for its deceptively edited videos.
The judge in this motion was having none of it.
Attached to defendants' moving papers are over 52 sources. While this is a lengthy media list, polling does not decide the truth, nor speak to evidence.
Polling does not decide the truth. Those are powerful words. We've talked about this problem before. It's the Penrose Stairs problem, a never-ending circle of reporters reporting what other reporters reported, while the other reporters report what the reporters are reporting about the other reporters.
But all of this fits the Project Veritas MO, according to Stanford researchers, who say it appears to be a coordinated disinformation campaign.
The vicious circle of fake news coming full circle. Project Veritas cannot sue us because they are libel-proof, because we've said so many bad things about them that they have to be bad, and they cannot sue us because we said bad things about them.
Or another comment on YouTube. Mainstream media. Veritas is a lying liar pants on fire because our friend said so. But the real power is in what the judge said next.
And defendants have not met their burden to prove that the reporting by Veritas in the video is deceptive.
This is the power of what we do. Our cameras capture the truth, and no mountains of hit pieces can ever change that. The Times gave it their all. 45-page motion to dismiss, 66 exhibits, 3 sworn statements, 3 additional briefings to the court arguing our video is, quote, deceptive. Over 700 pages of supposed evidence of deception. All of it was designed to prove our videos were deceptive, and they failed. Now, if all of that doesn't work, the New York Times then argues, in this case, that they should get a free pass. Now, to even proceed to discovery, you have to show the reporters knew the articles were false, because I'm a public figure, or at least didn't care if they were true or false. Now, this is a high standard to prove because you effectively have to get inside the mind of the reporter to prove intent, but until you get past the motion to dismiss phase of litigation, you don't have the ability to do that.
In defamation law, it's called actual malice, and in this order, the Supreme Court of New York says, quote, Veritas argues that not only does the complaint allege that defendants had knowledge of the falsity of their defamatory statements at the time of publication, but it pleads detailed facts showing the presence of literally every hallmark of actual malice recognized by the law, including setting out with a preconceived narrative, being motivated by ill will and bias, failing to contact obvious sources of information, relying on biased and non-credible sources, violating journalistic standards, and refusing to retract. Veritas alleges that it has far exceeded that standard by pleading overwhelming circumstantial evidence of actual malice.
You don't even get a chance to ask the reporter, what were you thinking? Alan Dershowitz, Harvard Law's Felix Frankfurter Professor of Law, critiqued that a side effect of New York Times versus Sullivan was that people like the New York Times are, quote, free to say anything they want about any aspect of a public figure's life, even if it is totally false. The result of this decision has been open season on public figures and lying about people, and that's why this case is so significant. Effectively, the New York Times versus Sullivan allows the New York Times to tell a court, yeah, what we wrote was false, but you can't prove we knew it was false, so who cares? Most of the time, the judges agree. But not this time.
Veritas documented in its complaint metadata and screenshots that demonstrate the unlikelihood that Ms. Astor read and digested the EIP report blog post, reviewed news reports on Minnesota ballot issues, viewed the video online, obtained comment from Alex Stamos, wrote her own article, submitted it to her editors, and had it posted online, all within 63 minutes. Here there is a substantial basis in law and fact that defendants acted with actual malice, that is, with knowledge that the statements in the articles were false or made with reckless disregard of whether they were false or not.
This is huge. This is huge. We never get to open up their reporter notebooks. But now we have a chance to get inside their heads, and they have to answer our questions, and they, by law, have to comply. Friends, we are inside the New York Times. Now, this is so historic, the New York Supreme Court even commented on the nature of the situation in this order.
Here, one of the largest newspapers in the world since Abraham Lincoln was engaged in the private practice of law, is claiming protections from an upstart competitor armed with a cell phone and a website.
Using words like deceptive and disinformation to describe the New York Times' articles calling us deceptive and disinformation, the court issued a, quote, major victory. Professor Jonathan Turley, quote, while it has received little coverage in the mainstream media, the conservative group Project Veritas won a major victory against the New York Times this week in a defamation case with potentially wide reach. The decision will allow the Project Veritas access to discovery, which can be extremely difficult for a news organization. The opinion could prove a critical shot across the bow for many in the media that the blurring of opinion and fact could come at a high price. The cost of the changing view of journalism may not only be in the loss of core trust, but of core legal protections. Quote, I expect to be teaching this case next year in my torts class when we deal with defamation. Reporter Michael Walsh of the Epoch Times put it this way, quote, in short, the dam may be breaking. Gadfly Project Veritas won a small but significant victory against the Times the other day. And for more than half a century, the mainstream media has abused its powers under the protective shield of the Sullivan decision. At this point, however, with the national media now weaponized against traditional American law and values, the ruling is no longer a shield, but a sword. The truth, cinema verite, these images here, people talking in their own words, bragging about them breaking the law, that's stronger than defamation. Now, so far, the New York Times, the Washington Post has ignored our win in New York Supreme Court in this defamation lawsuit, but they embrace discovery through defamation litigation when it's weaponized against their political enemies like Fox News.
And so in general, I've been highly skeptical and alarmed by lawsuits that try to stop media organizations from getting information out into the world. But I have to confess, the events of the past few years have started to shake my conviction a bit. As I've watched misinformation run rampant and system after system fail, I find myself hesitantly open to the idea that Eric may be onto something, that the courts may be one of the few tools available.
Do you know, Ben Smith, that our sources in Minnesota feared for their lives to do this? Do you know that we had to put them in hotel rooms because they were afraid for their personal safety? And your organization lied about them and cites Wikipedia and emotion. It's a tragedy. It's a disgrace to journalism, to the First Amendment, that we have to sue you and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to hold you accountable. But that's what we're going to do, Ben Smith, because we stand up for these people because they have nowhere else to go. They certainly can't go to you or Dean Baquet because you laugh maniacally at them. And you lie about them and you lie about me. But we speak for hundreds, thousands of people like them who have nowhere else to go but places like Project Veritas. And that's why we're going to win. We've already won. We're going to expose you. And if you lied and knew about it, the whole world will see you under oath, having to answer for it. Stay tuned.
There you go. I would suggest all of you go to Project Veritas and subscribe and like that video, because they are proving that, again, I hate to say it, but litigation can be successful. And them winning that when the New York Times tried to dismiss that case, now they have discovery, is huge. And it could be an open door for anyone that knows that, these slander hit pieces by all these media outlets. It can even be used. There's an argument to be made even for like places like Twitter and even here, and even on YouTube, for people to, how YouTube always pushes these people to the forefront in your suggested threads, like these news organizations, while they're burying smaller channels and, people that are trying to actually give people facts. Just saying, that's a big one. That's a big one. I don't know if many people are aware of, but that's a pretty big deal. They've made it through that initial very huge hurdle. So I personally wish them the best.
I guess to that end, it also will eventually set a precedent, and not just for the Project Veritases against the New York Timeses, but any news organization that gets slandered, libeled, whatever, by the Mockingbird media. It doesn't matter if it's New York Times, Washington Compost, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, NBC, ABC, CBS, you name it. This would be readily applicable, pending obviously the outcome of this, but nonetheless, it'll be a pattern and that the people can follow for that cause. And perhaps likely, like you said, against the Facebooks and that who act as publishers. The same thing with Twitter and YouTube.
It's about time, and that's what I meant by, I've said it's repeatedly, but about people, bringing litigation against these, these organizations. They are just used to getting away with it because nobody holds them accountable, because it does cost a small fortune to take them to court. Yeah, exactly. Like Best 90 said, that how the media calls millions of Americans white supremacists like it's fact. It's like, was it Van Jones that came out and said every white person has some disease hiding in them to be a racist? Things like that. No news organization should have a microphone and be broadcasted out on cable news and be able to say something like that. That is pure racism.
Well, here's what it does do. It proves Trump right. The Mockingbird media is the enemy of the people. They do not have our interest in mind. They are nothing more than a PR arm of the Democratic Party. They're the fourth branch of the government at this point in time. And so they should be treated thusly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just thought that was encouraging. I wanted to leave people with that note because it does bear some fruit. And I don't really know how I can help. I've tried to think about it many a times. Do I set up like a fund where people can know that it needs to be done, where we can all come together as a community and say, okay, we'll put it here. Whoever's got the biggest case in their state. I'm a big proprietor for the school systems trying to force this critical race theory, or for your job trying to fire you for not taking facts, or for, a company or somebody belittling you because, of your race. The news organization that said, like what I said, Van Jones said. I mean, there's just so much going on right now that is wrong, and we all know it. So, thanks, Maria. But, so I don't know. That's just, it is what it is. And hopefully we can, I don't know what to do. So hopefully they win this case and then people really think before they speak. And I will say, please, if you know people that have children in school, please make them aware of CRT, critical race theory. Please make them aware of that. Tell them to read into it. Tell them if they think that's what they want their child to hear in school, that they should feel ashamed of who they are. Because that's what it teaches. You should feel ashamed of who you are, that you didn't have to work hard for where you got. The color of your skin got you there, nothing else. I don't think that's a good message to be sending to little kids. It's like they're trying to educate activists, turn them into teaching activism, not math and science and whatever else. I'm sick of all these damn theories. Critical race theory. Evolution as a theory. Like, anytime somebody comes to me about evolution, I'm like, okay, using Darwin's own theory, there should be millions upon millions of skeletons of these animals as they mutate and grow and whatever. And I ask people all the time, I was like, all right, show me the evolution of a giraffe. Just show me that. People are like, oh, I'm like, no, there should be millions upon millions. We can find the skeleton of a dinosaur, but you can't show me one of the evolution of a giraffe. Where is the 5 foot long creature running around the earth right now? Because they should be out there. If the giraffe evolved, did they all just get wiped off the face of the earth? The evolution of the giraffe? Where are they at? Do you understand what I'm saying? There's a 3 foot neck long antelope somewhere in Africa. Then it just jumped to 6 feet one day. It woke up, decided to shorten its ears and lengthen its neck, and there's no evidence of anything in between. Spare me. So people usually, they don't know what to say to me when I say that question. Where's that old giraffe evolution at? Because there should be 4 foot long, 4 1/4, 4 1/2, 4, because it's supposed to take thousands and millions of years to evolve a 1/2 inch. Where they at, folks? I don't see them running around the Sahara Desert. Do you? Because there should be, right? There should be small giraffes running around. And then you get to see the evolution of a giraffe. Those animals should be out there. Or am I wrong?
No, it brings up breaking. Didn't you say the other night about apes or chimpanzees and how supposedly evolution, but why are they still here and why are we like this?
Yep. Yeah, why are they still here?
Me of that. So cool.
We've evolved. We've progressed. We're so progressive now. We're always progressing.
Some of them get left behind.
I think some of them still have that mentality, unfortunately. And we've allowed the fox to rule the hen house.
I just want to say one thing. I don't know if you mentioned it while I was making another cup of coffee. And if you did, I apologize. But before we come on air today, you told me about a judge that was killed in a car accident on Long Island, right?
Yeah, we covered it.
Okay. I was wondering.
Yeah, it was in Notables today.
Well, I just wondered like you said, I wondered of what cases she was set
The
to hear.
name is Sandra Feuerstein, a Jewish federal judge from Long Island.
Interesting. But all right, well, that's all I have for today, folks. You got anything else y'all want to cover or say or
take us out of here? See you
Oh,
on
we don't
Wednesday.
have Daddy.
Thanks.
We don't have Daddy, so
bye.
Yeah, right. Just keep your heads up, and always remember you can always if you guys start commenting below with like news or something like that, I'll try to pay attention before we do another show. If y'all give us any ideas or you see, I like stories that nobody really gives attention to. So if you see anything like that out there, anything happen locally that maybe we miss, don't be afraid to drop something below and we'll take a look at it. And unfortunately, you can do that with YouTube. I mean, you really can't comment below these other platforms, so that is where it is. But and with that, I guess that's it for the day. Have a great Sunday. It's beautiful here in the great state of Tennessee. People out mowing their yards. The sun's out. It's beautiful. I think in Illinois, it's raining like cats and dogs. I don't know what it's doing where Sunny's at. Minnesota pretty today.
It's cloudy. The sun popped out and now it's cloudy again, but that's okay. The temps are like mild. They're like 50.
Well, if you're having a beautiful day like I am today, then, go make yourself your favorite drink and go sit out on your porch and let the breeze hit you.
Yep.
Let the breeze hit you. Enjoy your day. And if you're in the rainy Illinois or somewhere else, if you're over in the UK where it's known for raining, find you a nice video to watch or a movie to watch you haven't seen in a long time. Don't stay in this. I just encourage people not to watch negative stuff all day long. It is a trying thing on your soul because there are really, really good people out in the world. We're full of them here, people that watch us, and I know that. So just be reminded that there are really good people in the world that are doing some really good things for people. It's not all.
Thank you all for being here.
All right, with that, we're going to get out of here. Say bye. It's breaking.
Bye, breaking.
Oh, good Lord. See, he's no daddy freaking dragon. Could you please just do the thing?
The thing?
Really?
Bye, everybody. See you Wednesday, if not sooner.
Bye.
Bye.